Okay, we're back again. This is Michael Kelly here with much of the cast of an original production called Helter Shelter. And we are coming to you from the Buckham Fine Arts Gallery in downtown Flint. And I think, Susan, you had something you wanted to say following our recent discussion.
Yes, Suzanne Holm came up with some wonderful quotes that people have said about art and life, and one of my favorites is by Eugene Ionesco, where he says that art requires that one place everything in doubt all over again. And I think that that's probably a pretty good theme for this play as well, because there are certainly a lot of things in doubt.
Well, there are things in doubt, but it seems as though part of what the play is saying is that these people needed a certainty. They needed a place. They needed a place to stand where they could be themselves. And that part of the dilemma these people faced is that they had nothing but doubt. There was no place they could turn and be secure. So that's almost that fine dilemma that, of course, there is a danger that comes in stability if it reaches the point of fossilization. But at the same time, if we become too unstable, disaster can occur too.
Yes, it certainly can.
It's an interesting human dilemma. That's why it's a good piece of theater. The next person I want to talk to was Joseph Michler. Michler. Oh, good. I want to say that properly, Joe. Joe, you had a thought on this discussion?
One of the things that's interesting about Flint is that throughout Flint's history, it has always been kind of in the foreground and leading the way in terms of social change and even economic change. And I think this is a similar kind of thing, that the people of the town are kind of rising up and saying, okay, let's move on. Let's see what we have. Let's get these creative people together and make some change rather than just set back and take the beating that the town has been taking for some time.
You know, and I think of the point was raised about the cutting of funding for the arts. Well, of course, you know, I mean, women's shelters are one of the things competing for the same dollars. And the question is, do you fund an art gallery or do you fund a women's shelter with the limited amount of money you've got? But also realize this federal funding and state funding of the arts is relatively recent. It's the last 15 or 20 years. And artists and painters and sculptors and poets worked for decades, for hundreds of years, centuries, without patrons, at least in recent years. Mary, did you have a comment? Or Julie, excuse me. Julie, did you have?
Yes, I am.
Let's get a microphone over to you first. Okay.
I hate to be the sayer of doom here, but I have noticed in this particular production, we have had a tremendous amount of publicity and have had tremendous amount of audience come. And I don't know if that's publicity, I don't know if that's the show, because it's topical. But I have been in a lot of productions here in Flint, and granted, there's a lot of theater going on, there's a lot of poetry going on, there's a lot of art, and I haven't noticed a lot of audience, to be quite honest. I've performed in places in Flint for an audience of 5, several times. And so I don't know why this is different. You know, I think we're spoiled now that we've had audiences of 70 and 80, and I think that's just wonderful, and it's really given me new hope that they're out there and exist and want to see theater, because quite frankly, I was beginning to believe that maybe people just don't want to see theater in Flint. Maybe there's just not this draw. And so I don't know what can be done about that. I'm not presenting any solutions, just problems, but there's a lot going on, and I wish more people would participate on an audience level.
I think that's point well taken, Julie. Teen, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I think some of the draw comes from how guilty we might feel because we have a home and we have something to eat and we have clothes to wear, and it makes us feel less guilty if we do in fact do something about the homeless, even if it's coming to see a play. But on the other hand, I believe that a lot of the audience can relate to the characters. The homeless are more like us than not, and more normal than not. And when we look at our audience and see women out there, we realize that 3 out of 5 of those people have been sexually assaulted before they came here.
The old expression, there but for the grace of God go I, has a lot of relevance. Yeah, Joe, did you have another thought?
In kind of following up on Julie, I've been to quite a few productions here in town, and she's right in many respects. There have been a lot of shows that I've gone to where there might be 10 or 15 people in the audience, The other thing that I've noticed about the theater in Flint is that, for the most part, like this show and the Buckham Theater behind us, they get very little support from, let's say, the government or from the political forces within the area. They pretty much go it alone, and that's one of the things that really impresses me about it, is the fact that these people are they're going to put these shows on, and they don't need the help, or if they can't get the help, they're just going to do it anyway. The thing I'm impressed by is that this summer there are 3 original productions going on. This isn't the only one. Buckham Theater behind us just finished an original production written by John Kuhn from the University of Michigan Flint, and in July they're doing the Flint sitcom, and those are all, including Helter Shelter, those are 3 original productions done in this area, and I personally find that kind of unique. I'm not sure there are very many towns or areas that can make that sort of a claim that there are 3 original shows going on at the same time.
I think it's interesting to think, if you're going to rely on state funding, you better be prepared to do a lot of Neil Simon and bad Shakespeare.
Right.
Want to talk to, well, Kathy, you look like you had one. Before we move on to Henry, I'll come over and get your comment.
I want to comment also on what Joe was saying about a new productions going on. McCree Theater has a show that's going on called One Way In, No Way Out, which is an original production written by 5 young ladies. And it's about the drugs and the gangs and how they affect the community at whole. So there is a lot of theater going on, and some of it is known about and some of it isn't. With Helter Shelter getting the coverage that it has by the media and with the audiences that we have, I have learned through some of the audience members that were out there that they didn't know any of this existed in the community. I mean, they heard about the homeless on television or the news, but they didn't know that it was such a dilemma even in our own town. And I'm glad that the people who are coming to see it, even if they may not have the background in it, that they are seeing that there is a definite need for all of us to get involved.